Morning, sir. Good morning, classmate. Our topics today is Augustus, Killits Decision, Probation of Offenders Act of 1907, Probation Act of 1925, History of Philippine Probation, Provision for Juvenile Probation, Integration of Adult Probation, Congressman Teodulo C. Natividad, Institutionalization of probation. Augustus. Augustus was a Boston maker who is called the father of probation in the United States because of his pioneering efforts to campaign for more lenient sentence for convicted criminals based on their backgrounds. Si Augustus, siya yung ama ng probation sa Estados Unidos o tinatawag na father of probation in the United States. At dahil sa kanyang pangunguna sa pagsisikap na mangampanya para sa mas maluwag na mga asistensyang para sa mga nahatulang kriminal batay sa kanilang mga pinagmulan. Killits Decision. In what became known as the Killits Decision, the Supreme Court in 1916 held that federal courts did not have the power to suspend sentence indefinitely and that there was no reason or right for the courts to continue the practice. The Supreme Court suggests probation legislation as a remedy. Probation of Offenders Act 1907, an act to permit to release on probation of offenders in certain cases and for other matters incidental thereto. So ano nga ba itong Probation of Offenders Act 1907? Ito yung batas upang pahintulutan ang pagpapalaya sa mga nagkasala sa ilalim ng mga kaso. Probation Act of 1925. The Probation Act of 1925 signed by President Calvin Coolidge provide for a probation system in federal courts except in the District of Columbia. It gave the courts the power to suspend the imposition or execution of sentence and place defendant on probation for such period and on such term and condition as they deem best. The Act also authorized courts to appoint one or more person to serve as probation officers without compensation and one salaried probation officers. Ang Probation Act of 1925, binigyan nito ang mga korte ng kapangyarihan na suspendihin ang pagpataw o pagpapatupad ng sistensya at ilagay ang mga sasakdal sa probasyon para sa naturang panahon at sa mga tuntunin at kondisyon na itinuring nilang pinakamahusay. History of Philippine probation. Probation was first introduced in the Philippines during the American colonial period, 1898-1945, with the enactment of Act 4221 on August 7, 1935 by the Philippine legislature dislocated a probation office under the Department of Justice. Itong History of Philippine Probation, ito yung batas na lumikha ng probation office sa ilalim ng DOJ o tinatawag na Department of Justice. Provision for Juvenile Probation. In the Philippines, provisions for juvenile probation has been embodied in Article 80 of Revised Penal Code since its enactment in 1932. The sentence was suspended for offenders under 16 years of age accused of a grave or less grave felony, who were then placed in the care and custody of public or private entities. This was amended on December 10, 1974 by Presidential Decree number 603, known as a Child and Youth Welfare Code, and by Presidential Decree number 1179, which set the age of minority to below 18 of age at the time of the commission of the offense. Likewise, Republic Act number 6425 or the Dangerous Drug Act of 1972 provide for the suspension of sentence and probation of a first offender under 18 years of age at the time of the commission of the offense, but not more than 21 years at that time when judgment should have been promulgated. Integration of adult probation. The move to integrate adult probation, the Philippine criminal justice system began early in the 20th century when the Philippine legislature approved Act number 4221 on August 7, 1935. This created a probation office under the Department of Justice and provide probation for first offender 18 years of age and above were convicted of certain crimes. Fortunately, there were defects in the law's procedural framework so that on November 16, 1937, the Supreme Court declared unconstitutional in the case of People of the Philippines versus Vera on the grounds of undue delegation of legislative power and violation of the equal protection of the law clause. From the words of integration of adult probation, ito yung nagkasala ka, for example, pag nagkasala ka below 17, hindi ka kagad mapupunta sa kulungan, kundi mapupunta ka doon sa DSWD. At pagsapit mo ng 18 years old, doon ka ipupunta sa kulungan o tinatawag na prison. Congressman Teodulo C. Natividad. Congressman Natividad was a former NAPOLCOM commissioner and former congressman of Bulacan. He is also known as a father of probation in the Philippines. In 1975, he introduced another proposed probation decree. The proposed decree was presented on April 25, 1976 at the seminar on the probation system sponsored by TUHI National Police Commission o tinatawag nating NAPOLCOM. At the Up Law Center, it was also presented at the First National Conference on Crime Control on July 22, 34, 1976. The bill under 18 technical hearings and was submitted to a selected group of jurists, penologists, civil leaders, social and behavioral scientists, and law practitioners before it was endorsed for approval PPA 2018. Si Congressman Teodulo C. Natividad ay dating komisyoner ng NAPOLCOM at dating kongresista ng Bulacan. Si Congressman Teodulo C. Natividad ay kilala rin siyang bilang ama ng probation in the Philippines noong 1975. Institutionalization of probation. On July 24, 1976, President Ferdinand E. Marcos signed the proposed decree known as Presidential Decree number 968 PD 968 or the Adult Probation Law of 1976. With its enactment, it created the Probation Administration Presidential Decree 1968 968 1976 Section 18. The late Congressman Teodulo Natividad, recognized as the father of the Philippine probation, was appointed its first administration. Through this decree, probation became an added component of the Philippine correction system and proved the institutional worth. The operation of probation system in 1976-1977 was a massive undertaking during which all judges and prosecutors nationwide were trained in probation methods and procedures, administrative and procedural manuals were developed. Developed probation officers were recruited and trained, and the central office and also the probation field office were organized throughout the country. 15 probation officers were selected from the first batch of trains for an observation tour to the Los Angeles Training Academy, April 1, 1977. Upon their return, they was assigned to train the newly recruited probation officers. The probation system started to operate on January 3, 1978. As more probation officers were recruited and trained, as more probation field offices were open. At present, there are 183 field officers spread over all country, supervised by 15 region. And yun lang po. Maraming salamat po, sir and classmate.